Story 1. Am I the a-hole for saying I will call social services if my sister-in-law keeps leaving her child at my place? Here's what happened. I'm a 30-year-old female. I have a half-brother, Enzo, who's 40. We're not very close since we were both raised by our respective mothers, but he has always gone out of his way to help me with anything I've needed. Enzo married his wife, Steph, who's 33, 2 years ago. Steph has a 4-year-old daughter, Alice, with her ex, but she has sole custody. And Enzo and Steph also have a 7-month-old son, Teddy. I have a 3-year-old daughter. Enzo and Steph moved to the city I live in when Steph got pregnant. And since then, Steph developed a habit of showing up at my apartment building unannounced. It became a problem, and I talked to both her and Enzo about it, and she stopped until she gave birth. Now she regularly stops by unannounced to leave Alice at my building for babysitting while she has to run errands or something. She's had her carpool drop Alice off at my apartment before. My poor housekeeper is a wonderful woman who has had to deal with Alice arriving unexpectedly while I'm out, and I feel terrible about it. I've told the concierge not to let her up and to say no one is in. But then I'll arrive and Alice will be waiting in the lobby, which is not safe, and the concierge has told me I can't make them responsible for a child. Steph keeps saying she only does it when she's desperate, but I don't see how she can be that desperate to run errands at least twice a week, and frankly, I'm not a nanny. If she's desperate, she needs to hire some help. I've spoken to Enzo, and he is always extremely apologetic and says he will talk to her, and I believe he does, but he also works during the day and can't police where she is at all hours. I reached my breaking point a couple of days ago when I returned from lunch to find Alice at home, having been dropped off since she had had a half day at school. I apologized profusely to my housekeeper, who had spent time playing babysitter, and called Steph. No answer. I called her several times, and then Enzo, who was on a business trip and distraught over the situation. Steph eventually turned up a couple of hours later, and I went ballistic. I said if she ever leaves Alice at my building again, I will call social services, and I will call them every single time she drops Alice off with me until they do something, because this is not my job, and she is an irresponsible and neglectful parent. She burst into tears and begged me to help out with Alice, but I said no and reminded her I'd never said yes in the first place. She just kept dumping her kid here. Steph kept trying to guilt-trip me, but I was too exhausted and upset about the situation to be receptive, and eventually my husband had to tell her to leave. I feel bad because, as I said, Enzo has never been anything but the most accommodating person where I'm concerned, and maybe treating his wife like that was harsh, but at the same time, I chose to have one kid because I don't want another one. Steph can't use my house as a daycare. Was I too harsh? Story 2. Am I the a-hole for leaving my stepdaughter's birthday party after my husband threw out the cake I made for her? Here's what happened. I have been married to my husband, Jeff, for a year now. He has a 12-year-old daughter with his deceased wife. When I first met Jeff, it was obvious that he was struggling as a single parent. For my stepdaughter's birthday, he'd usually get a cake from the bakery. This has been the case since her mom passed away. I thought I'd bake her a birthday cake for her 12th birthday, which was last week, as a gesture to show some motherly love and support. Jeff agreed, and he told me what his daughter's favorite flavors are and what she likes and so on. I baked the cake in the flavor she likes and the icing she likes, but one thing was missing, and that was the blueberries. I couldn't include them because I went to the nearest store and they didn't have them. I was running out of time and couldn't get them, so I ended up just leaving the cake as it was, thinking it wouldn't be a big deal. The party started, and Jeff was busy taking care of everything else. He then came into the kitchen and asked how I overreacted and hurt him and my stepdaughter by leaving. Also said that I created this situation by not properly making the birthday cake just because I didn't put blueberries on top. I refused to respond, but my parents say he was justified since he must have felt pressured from the stress of making his daughter happy on her birthday. He keeps trying to speak to me, but I don't respond. Am I the a-hole? Did I overreact? Story 3. Am I the a-hole for telling my daughter-in-law she wasn't invited since she is an embarrassment at dinners since she's a picky eater? Here's what happened. My son is on my back, so I'm writing here for different opinions. My son has been married for 2 years at this point. I get along with my daughter-in-law as well as water gets along with oil. I just keep my distance because I don't like dealing with her. She is a horrible, picky eater. I don't know why, but truly I don't care because she is a pain at restaurants. We try to go anywhere, and we have to change places multiple times so she can have something to eat. She makes the waiters go through hoops so she will have something she likes, and if anything is wrong, she will bitch about it or pout in the corner. Example, she got a quesadilla, removed everything on it, and when it came out, she set it back because there was sour cream on the side. It wasn't touching anything, and she made a huge deal about her food being wrong. She doesn't have allergies either. What really made me dislike her is that she complained about the food at a funeral. They had a sandwich spread, but went on about it like it's gross multiple times. So I had a dinner yesterday, and I invited everyone but my son's wife. My son wasn't invited either, but he was on a business trip. My other daughter-in-law posted it online, and I got a call from this daughter-in-law. She was angry I didn't invite her and asked why. I told her it was due to her being an embarrassment at dinners and I wouldn't be inviting her to dinners. She called me a jerk and hung up. Now my son is on my back, and I'm wondering if I should apologize or not. Edit. I'm going to say it. It doesn't matter if she has an eating disorder or is on the spectrum. Both those groups know how to act at a funeral or restaurant. It may be harder, but they can. Edit 2. So to make it clearer, I have 3 daughter-in-laws and 1 son-in-law, and we all have a good relationship, besides this one daughter-in-law. It's not me that's the issue here. They don't like her either. Also, I find the threat of I better bend down to her or I won't see her kids such a stupid threat. I'm already a grandma, and if she withholds her kids, then that's on them and would be depriving the kids of grandparents on my son's side. Story 4. Am I the a-hole for nuking my niece's social media accounts? Here's what happened. So a couple of weeks ago, I had my sister and her 11-year-old niece over for a barbecue. We had a pretty good time, with the exception of the niece, who was pretty much constantly on her phone recording TikToks. Slightly annoying, but ultimately not my kid, not my problem. I talked to my sister a while ago about being careful with my niece's putting online, protecting her identity, etc. My sister brushed it off, saying that her daughter was sensible enough not to do anything stupid. I figure I'd try and bridge the gap, so I asked my niece what she's recording. It's a TikTok. You're old. You wouldn't get it. I work in tech, so it's not like I don't know what I'm talking about. But I decided to let it slide and do some digging later. Turns out my niece has used her full government name to register for TikTok, which links to her public Instagram with the same name. So I did what any reasonable person would do. Reported everything for being under 13. Instagram, YouTube, TikTok, everything I could find. With the nature of TikTok trends, some of the stuff on there was stuff that 11-year-olds probably shouldn't be doing and definitely shouldn't be recording. Fast forward to today. My sister calls me and asks me if I can have a look at my niece's iPad. Apparently, she can't log into any of her accounts and she's having a meltdown about it. I talk her through it, and it quickly becomes apparent that the accounts are blocked and asking for ID. I'm in 2 minds about whether to tell her it was me that reported the account or just tell her to submit the ID knowing it'll get my niece perma-banned. So, am I the a-hole for nuking my niece's social media? Edit. Thanks for your advice. Seems like most people are with me on this. I'm not going to tell her it was me. I'm assuming she'll probably create new accounts, and if those come up, I'll speak to her mom. There were a couple of bits a few people mentioned, so I'll add them here rather than copy and paste a load. Quote, you banned her government name? She'll just use a pseudonym, unquote. Good. It's one less thing people can use to track her down, and one less thing someone can hold over her if something goes wrong. I'm not stupid enough to think this will stop her, but maybe she'll start to understand that she needs to be smarter about it. Quote, she's not your kid to parent. You should have spoken to her mom about it, unquote. True, and one of the reasons why I questioned whether I was the a-hole. My sister is great in many ways, but tech isn't one of them. I tried it the reasonable way. I probably overstepped, but I don't think removing someone from a dangerous situation is a problem. Quote, you're invading her privacy, unquote. She's 11, posting stuff publicly under her government name. If you think any of that constitutes privacy, I don't know what to tell you. Thank you for watching. Make sure to like and subscribe for more engaging stories.